I am Charlotte Jackson, and this is Game Changer, the podcast that empowers you to align with your true self, mind, body, and spirit, because that is where the magic happens. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a certified holistic coach, Reiki master, and EFT practitioner, and I'm a recovered crystal meth addict. And everything I share with you are things that have already helped me, things I've learnt, or things I am learning along my journey. So welcome, and thank you so much for being here. It is my only wish that this episode finds the person that it is meant to find and empowers them to change their life. Oh my goodness, it is official, the first ever full-length episode of Game Changer. We are here, we are in my bedroom, we have got the microphone, we are all set up and good to go, and I am so excited. So, as I mentioned, I'm in my bedroom. One day, I'm sure that I will be recording in a full-blown podcast studio, cannot wait, but for now, here I am in my room. So you may hear some background noise. There may be some cars going past, there might be some birds tweeting in the background. You might even hear my parents calling up the stairs to me, but we're working with what we've got, right? So here we are. It is episode 1, and today I am going to talk about living with your parents as an adult. Now, this is obviously something that is very close to my heart. For those of you who don't know me, I live with my parents, and I am 36 years old. Now, this is probably not where I saw myself being at 36 years old, I'm not going to lie. But you know, life throws you some curveballs sometimes, and this is where I'm at. So I really wanted to talk about this topic because, funnily enough, it is actually something that has come up so often with people that I meet. I have met so many people in the past 6 months of my life who are in their late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, sometimes even nearing 40s, who are still living with their parents. And that is for a myriad of reasons. There could be so many reasons as to why you are living with your parents. But I just wanted to talk about how to navigate this situation and things that might come up and things that have kind of helped me along my journey with my parents. So let's talk about it, right? Let's go through a few things that you can do that can really help you in this situation. So, number 1 is accept where you are at, okay? This sounds pretty simple, but the thing is, living with your parents as an adult is probably not where you thought you were going to be. You know, this isn't the life plan that you had for yourself when you were 18 years old, graduating high school. I bet you didn't think, I am going to be living with my parents in my, mid to late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, whatever age you are. You did not think that you were going to be living with your parents. And it's really, really important to give yourself grace. I can imagine that you have probably been through some shit, whether it is a global pandemic or a breakup, or perhaps you're not well. And when I say not well, that could be anything. That could be a physical illness. It could be a mental illness. It could be anything. You could be struggling with depression, anxiety, all of these things that happen in life. So give yourself grace and accept where you're at, even though it is not where you thought you would be, and it is not the life that you had planned for yourself. It's where you're at. And I honestly am such a big believer in believing that you are always exactly where you are meant to be for your evolution. Whether that is the evolution of your mind, your body, or your soul, or even all three, you are exactly where you are meant to be. So accept it and give yourself grace. Because honestly, Life is so much easier when you stop pushing against your current reality and just accept it for what it is. And I can guarantee you that if you actually accept where you are in life rather than hating it and wishing you were somewhere else, you will actually find that you transition and move out of your current reality into a future that you would desire much, much faster. So just accept yourself, accept where you're at, forgive yourself for the things that have happened that have caused you to be living with your parents as an adult, because the things that happened were part of your journey and they have shaped you. And as I said, you are exactly where you are supposed to be. So just accept it. Accept it. Okay. Number 2, equally as important as number 1, accept where your parents are at. Okay. So firstly, as well as you not actually thinking that this is where you would end up, I am sure that your parents also did not think that they would have their adult child living with them at this point in time. They may possibly have, sent you off to school and seen you graduate and seen you move out and seen you move in with a partner and seen you do all these things. And I'm sure that they did not think that you would be moving back in with them or still living with them, depending on where you're at on your journey. So that's important too, because I think so often we really do see things just from our perspective. And it's important to remember that our parents are also human and they have their own expectations and their own lives and their own plans that they thought of how things might be working out. And that probably isn't how things are working out right now. So, accept where they're at too. Also, what comes under this is, if you're listening to this podcast, I would hazard a guess that you are on some kind of a healing or self-development journey of some sort. And when you're on that journey, like when you are in that space of like healing and dealing with your emotions and digging into your traumas and your triggers and wanting to be the best version of you that you can possibly be, it is so easy to look at people, especially your parents, who are, I'm going to also hazard a guess, not on the same journey as you in terms of their healing and their self-development, and just get so angry that they are not doing the work, right? You can just look at them and just feel so frustrated. Like, why am I the one that is doing all this work? Why am I the one that has to learn how to communicate properly? Why am I the one? Blah, blah, blah. And it kind of puts you into this whole victim mindset, okay? And I am honestly speaking from experience. I share all of these things because I have lived through this. This is my current reality, and these are things that have come up for me. So honestly, without being rude, lose the attitude and get off your high horse, because you can't change other people. The only person that you can change is yourself, and that is fucking amazing. Isn't that awesome that we can choose to change ourselves at any point in time? But you cannot change other people, and you can't get angry with other people for not changing in the same way that you are. You can't. It is pointless. It is a waste of energy. It is a waste of your emotional capacity. It is just a waste of time, full stop. So accept your parents for where they're at in their own journey, in their own self-development, in their own healing, and in terms of what their expectations are for this point in their life. Because my parents are in the early 70s, right? And I know for a fact that they did not think their 36-year-old daughter would be living in their house at this point in their life. I'm sure they thought they'd be kicking back, margarita in hand, just having a grand old time. But instead, I came back. And when I came back, I was actually 33. Came back at 33, and I'd messed some shit up. I caused a bit of kerfuffle in the house. That is not what they had planned for their 70s. And so you really do have to give them grace as well. So number one, accept where you're at. Number two, accept where they are. Number three is finding common ground with your parents, okay? This one is an interesting one because, again, I think when you are really in that whole self-development space, you can start to see the differences between yourself and maybe people that you used to be friends with. You start to see the difference between yourself and the people around you, because a lot of people do not ever choose to change their lives or to grow. They're just happy to kind of continue as they are and continue doing what they're doing. So you start to really see yourself as different. And that's like quote unquote different, okay? And sometimes that's not actually a good thing, because you are seeing yourself as so far removed from these people that you are sharing a house with that you actually are causing friction and even sort of putting a guard around your heart. Like energetically, you are literally blocking yourself from having a relationship with these people because you are telling yourself that you're so different from them. So stop thinking of your parents as your parents. Of course, they're your parents, but stop thinking of them like that. Start seeing them as human beings with their own emotions, their own experiences, their own lives. Like, they had whole lives before you were even born. And depending on how old you are, they may have lived as long as you have been alive before you were even born, right? So talk to them, find out who they are. Like, what makes them tick? What are they interested in? What do they love? What are their views on things when they're not having this conversation with you where it's like the parent-child dynamic, where it's literally just like a casual conversation? How can you spend time with them and appreciate them for who they are? Find ways to do things with them. Like, for me, the things that I do with my parents are very, very simple. I will have coffee with my mum. Like, she loves a natter over a coffee. And I remember when I first moved home, I used to get so mad because I would be trying to do something. Like, I'd go downstairs, trying to be getting ready, trying to get some food together, do this, do that before I was going to go to work or something. And she would come in and she would be trying to have a chat with me. And I was just like, oh, like, this is so annoying. And then I just thought, well, Charlotte, you know what she's actually trying to do right now is she's actually trying to connect with you. She is trying to speak to you. She's trying to be your friend. Like, don't push her away. So then I changed my actual behavior and I instead carved out time to have these chats with her. So I'll come down earlier knowing that she's down there and sit with her and like actually have a coffee and just to catch up and just to chat. And this is another thing. It doesn't matter if your mum or dad wants to talk to you about the fucking weather, the neighbors next door, the cat, the dog, whatever it is. It does not matter. Just let them do it. If they are having a conversation with you, they are trying to connect with you in the way that they know best. And this might not be the way that you choose to connect with people, but if this is the way that they connect with people, then just allow it. It takes 10 minutes of your day and it makes so much difference. It really, really, really does. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk about is triggers. Triggers. Don't we love a trigger? Oh my goodness. Okay, so let me paint the scene for you. When I moved back into my family home, I had just returned from living overseas for 10 years. 10 years away from the family, right? And then on top of that, I had also just overcome a 4-year crystal meth addiction. So I was dealing with not just like I've been away for 10 years, but on top of that, I've just beaten an addiction. Like, I have just started a massive healing journey. It's funny because I think everyone always thinks that like getting clean is like the goal, and it is to a point. But really, that's just the beginning of everything. Like, that is the start. It's not the end, it's the start. So not only had I been away 10 years and had I just gotten clean, I also came home in the middle of lockdown. So I was locked in a house with my parents. And when I say that people were getting triggered, okay? I was getting triggered, they were getting triggered. Probably my sister was even getting triggered and she didn't even live here. Everyone was getting triggered. It was like an intense time of life. And this went on for quite some time, okay? There was no running from it. We could not help it. And I was triggering my parents as much as they were triggering me. But the amazing thing about coming back into the family home as an adult is that you actually have the gift of becoming the observer. So instead of relying on your childhood memories, which at best are probably relatively foggy, okay? Instead of relying on childhood memories, you actually get to see the relationship dynamics between your parents firsthand. You get to see like how they act. You get to see how they act towards each other. You get to see how they act towards you. You get to see as an adult the way that they get triggered and what they get triggered by. And you get to obviously see how you get triggered. And this is such a fucking gift. Like if you want to grow as a person, how much more of a gift could you ask for than being in the home with the people who raised you as an adult, with that perspective and that understanding and that knowledge of who you are and who your parents are? Oh my goodness, like it is the biggest fucking gift that you could have. It is not an annoyance. If you want to grow as a person, this is the shit. This is what you want to be doing, okay? Also, obviously, getting triggered is really uncomfortable. So this is what it also comes down to, is like having the tools to deal with the triggers. For me, this is all about having a healthy nervous system. So really using things like meditation, exercise, cold water therapy, spending a lot of time in nature where I can, getting good quality sleep and like enough sleep as well. And even just breathing exercises and somatic practices that you can engage in, because you will be triggered. There's no doubt about it. You're moving with your parents, you're going to get triggered. Whether it's like a slight trigger and you just get annoyed by something, or whether it's like hectic, like screaming, crying, angry, whatever it is, like it's going to come up. So definitely view the triggers as an absolute gift, but just make sure that you have the tools to deal with them as well, and really allow yourself to process the emotions that come up, because there is a lot of shit that we keep down and don't really deal with that has followed us from childhood. And even if you had like the most perfect childhood, your parents are still going to trigger you. Like that's just what happens in relationship. And we really do heal the most when we are in relationship with others. So, you know, you can do all the fucking healing and self-development work that you want and think that you are just the absolute bee's knees who's killing it at life and like everything's so good and you're so chill and like everything's going really well. And then you move back in with your parents and you realize that actually you're fucked. No, I'm kidding. You're not fucked. But it's very, very easy to be the most zen human being when you're on your own. When you're around other people, that is where the real work happens. So view it as a gift. Take a step back, allow yourself to be an observer and think, holy shit, like this is so interesting. Look at what I'm getting to watch and witness and how much it's going to teach me about the person that I am and why I am the person that I am. And journal on it. So interesting. If you get triggered, go get your pen, go get a journal and write that shit down, because you will have all these epiphanies and it will just help you grow and change so much. And ultimately, these things will lead you to be a better person, a better work colleague, a better partner, a better brother, a better sister, a better son, a better daughter, and a better parent. So dive into those triggers and be grateful for the triggers, because even though they're fucking hard, they really, really, really do help you grow as a person. Okay, number 5. And this one was massive for me. Massive. Can't even say how big this one was. boundaries. Having boundaries, asserting your boundaries, but also respecting your parents' boundaries too. Now, when I first came back from Australia, I was 100% someone who was a massive, massive people pleaser. I basically had no boundaries at all when I was a drug addict, and it was only kind of just towards getting like the end of the journey when I was about to get clean that I realized this. In fact, one of my ex-partners told me I was a bit of a pushover in general in life. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean I'm a pushover? No, I'm not. Like, I was so shocked at this information. And then I started to notice the way that I behaved around people. And I realized that, in fact, I was actually a bit of a fucking pushover. And I did let people take advantage of me. And I did just do whatever I had to do to get people to love me, right? So when I moved back in with my parents, like, I noticed actually that I really didn't have any boundaries. And I was also with people who maybe didn't respect my boundaries either. And I remember when I first got back, I was obviously absolutely fucking exhausted. Like, my body had been through hell and back. And one of the things that happens when you have been in a constant state of just fight or flight is that when you're finally safe, you're so fucking exhausted, right? So I was very, very tired when I first got back. And I used to be like in my room, like having a sleep, sleeping away, having a good time. And my mum, every morning, without fail, would bust into my room, like not knocking, just come in and be like, morning, I'm just going to open the curtain, like blah, 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 blah. And it used to scare the shit out of me because my nervous system was so dysregulated that this person like busting in and waking me up used to absolutely just scare me, right? Set me off. And this went on and on and on for like weeks and weeks. And I know it came from a good place, right? She was trying to wake me up because she wanted me to get into a routine. She wanted to make sure I was okay, like not, sleeping in all day and all night and being depressed. It came from a good place, but fuck man, it used to really piss me off. And I eventually just had to say to her, Mum, I know you mean well, but please stop coming into my room every morning. Please stop waking me up. I am absolutely exhausted because I'm recovering from a drug addiction and I just need the rest. I'm sleeping because I'm tired, not because I'm being lazy or because I'm depressed. I'm sleeping because my body needs it. And as soon as I explained this to her, she listened and she stopped doing that. But it's so important to assert your boundaries in any relationship. And I think when you move back into the family home as an adult, it's even more important because there is this whole parent-child dynamic going on. And if you do not assert your boundaries, the boundaries and the lines will be blurred. And this goes both ways. Like, respect your parents' boundaries too, and they will definitely let you know what those are. And you've got to take things into account. Like, you are in their space, you're in their house. It's a tricky situation when you're an adult because, it's not one that you really would have seen yourself being in. You're probably someone who in the past was independent and now you're back in this situation where it's like you're reliant on your parents again, and this hasn't happened since you were a child. So it's very weird and a difficult dynamic, but make sure that you do communicate your boundaries. And this doesn't have to be done in a way that's like aggressive or rude or nasty. You can assert your boundaries very calmly. If you feel like you are getting defensive and aggressive and agitated, just go and take a breath and wait until you're calm and then go and speak to your parents when you're more relaxed. Having conversations and discussions when you're activated is just, it's not going to get you anywhere. You need to make sure that you are calm when you have conversations around boundaries and things that you find difficult. Okay, and the final piece of advice that I have, and this is the one thing that I would say I wish I'd known since the start, is have fun. Oh My God, okay? You do not have to take life so seriously. Life can get really fucking heavy. So can living with your parents. It can get so heavy. You're like, oh, like all this shit's coming up from my childhood. I feel all this resentment. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be in the house. I want to go out. I spend more time out of the house than I spend with my parents because I hate being here. So blah, 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 blah. Okay, stop. It does not have to be that heavy. I know that living with your parents is a lot. Trust me, I know. I've been there. I know it's a lot. It is heavy shit, especially if you're on the healing journey, especially if you're on the self-development journey. Oh my goodness, it is a lot. It is so heavy. There is so much. There's the trauma and all this shit that I have to deal with. Okay, I get it. It's a lot. But life is also beautiful and fun, and it's lighthearted, and it's meant to be enjoyed. You do not have to take every situation so seriously, I promise you. And you know what? If you start having more fun and start having fun with your parents, start taking steps to making things lighthearted. Like, when is the last time that you said to your parents something not related to do with living in the house? So rather than like, do we have any milk? Do you need me to go and get eggs? Like, I'll do the washing up. Who's cooking tonight? Blah, blah, blah. Like all this boring stuff. When is the last time that you just said to your parents, oh my God, you look really nice today? Something. You know what I mean? When's the last time you just said to your mom or your dad, would you like a coffee? Like, just something so little. Take them out for lunch. Ask them if they want to go for a walk around the block with you. Like, just have fun. Play music in the house. Like, chat with them, laugh with them. Make sure you're laughing. Make sure you're having fun, because honestly, life does not have to be so freaking serious and heavy, especially when you're dealing with stuff that is heavy. I know that when I was a drug addict, it was some of the heaviest, like worst shit that I have ever been through in my life. But also, I have to say that in that period of my life, I had some of the most fun that I have ever had in my life too. I made these situations playful and joyful, even though they were so shit. And I swear to God, that got me through it. And that also brought me out the other side. So just bring some lightness in, man. Like, you don't have to be so heavy and serious and thinking about this as like the worst thing. It can be playful and joyful and fun. And when you start to put that energy out into your environment, I promise you it comes back. It really does. It comes back tenfold. Just keep having fun, keep putting it out there. So let's go over the main things that I think are important when you're living with your parents. Number 1, accept where you are at and give yourself grace. Number 2, accept where they are at and give them grace as well. Number 3, find common ground with your parents. Treat them as, can you hear that? That is actually my parents coming home, the gravel on the driveway. Okay, let's wrap this up before they come into the house and start screaming up the stairs. Okay, number 3, find common ground with your parents. Get to know them as people. They are humans. They're not just your parents. They have lives and they have so much knowledge and experience of all these things that they've lived through before you even existed. So treat them as such. Number 4, triggers, embrace them. Be grateful for them, but also make sure that you have the tools to deal with your triggers. So make sure you look after your nervous system particularly. Number 5, assert your boundaries and respect their boundaries. And number 6, have fun, my friends. Have fun. Enjoy the situation. Laugh at the situation, because let's be honest, it is a little bit fucking ridiculous. It's funny. Like, it's funny that there's these 3 full-grown adults living in a house together, like bumbling through life. It is funny. It is playful. It is joyful. Like, bring the fun and the humor. See the humor, see the fun, see the good side of it. And yeah, just roll with it. I promise you, as soon as you start to do that, things will start to change and you'll actually be out of the situation a lot sooner than you thought. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up because the parents are on their way in and and I want to wrap this up before they come into the house. But I am so excited. This is episode number 1. If you enjoyed it, please leave a review or let me know. Share it with your friends. If you know someone that is living with their parents as an adult and you think this might be helpful, please share it with them. And I will catch up with you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening.